Hi everyone. My name is Lindsay Pajot. I work for Cornell Cooperative Extension. I'm an agricultural business development marketing specialist. I'm also the owner of Adirondack View Lavender. Today's program is planning your cut flower operation for next season. This is more of a business point of view, and I'm actually going to talk about it from part of like extension, but more as a lavender grower. I also have grown some cut flowers in the past for like dried for my workshops. So I'm going to talk about like how I think through my process on my agritourism operation cut flower farm. Um, so you can hear my perspective. So my main topic that I'm going to be talking about within this is schedule the farm to do and reassessing your business. The scheduling the farm to do is I'm actually going to talk about reassessing your business and then going to talk about exactly how I plan my schedule and like why I do it, and how I reassess those aspects of my business. So this is kind of like I made a schedule up of this is kind of what I do throughout the year. My schedule farm to do a lot of more of my business side. I didn't get really nitty gritty of the production side, since I'm talking more of a business point. Um, I reassess my business in January and February, a little bit in June, July, and August when the season is going. And then in September and October, I create a schedule of the season when I order my seeds or my plugs, ordering supplies, ordering my marketing materials, my budget for the season, when I prune my lavender, where I cover my lavender, you pick lavender season, my preparation, my season, the replanting that happens during the season, opening the season, um, make product for the farm shop, and then when I market, you pick events. So you can see like every single month there's something that is going on in the farm. I put as like light blue on the schedule as things that I'm thinking about a little bit, if not like in it 100% with my farm operation doing those things, but it's things that I'm thinking about and trying to make some determinations. Um, so when should I reassess my business? That's a question I have gotten over the years. Um, I reassess my business like probably 365 days a year. It probably drives me up the wall deep down. But I know I do a lot of it during the season, right at the end of the season when I'm ordering my supplies, my plugs, and my seeds. When I'm doing event planning, a lot of memories happen from the previous season at that point and the beginning of the season. And the reason why I'm going to mention, I have the picture of the tent and I have this little note for myself is example tent, picnic tables, permanent structure. And I'm just going to give an example of what happened to on my farm operation over the years is so I didn't want to build any type of structures. I really didn't want any permanent structures on my farm property. I have like a shed for my farm shop. I call it my farm shop. Customers always call it the shed. That's fine. And then we've always done like tents, like a 20 by 40 tent. Over the years, it's become very difficult to put that up, just securing it to the ground for different events. So I thought like, oh, this season I will take and get like 10 by 20 pop-up tents instead, and then get picnic tables with umbrellas. That'll be easier for myself and my family members to help me put up. So during our season this year, right at the beginning of the season, we had a lovely event for our elementary school pre-K class using those 10 by 20 tents. 100% success during using those pop-up tents for that event. A couple weeks later, we had our first lavender wreath making workshop was supposed to start on Saturday. Friday night, I put the cover on the top of the structure, ready to go. Winds came in, and the tents, one of them collapsed completely in, the other one just twisted completely. So they all, $500 worth of tents just went right to the dump. Um, so I was like, well, that's out. Next day's workshop was going to have to be moved into my high tunnel. Luckily, I didn't. Things weren't in full bloom. There was enough room to do the wreath making workshop, and then so I had that option. I ordered a couple more picnic tables and umbrellas. I'm like, oh, get through the season. This will work. Then we had issues of umbrellas flying out of the picnic tables when customers were underneath them during the workshop. So I was like, this isn't going to work at all. So this is where I'm getting talking about like reassessing during the season. Um, I was about ready to shut down all of our workshops at that point for the season because this is just not safe. This is not going to make a really good experience. Going to have poor customer service. We kept going for the season, and then at the end of the season, we looked at different options. You know, building a pavilion, bringing in a structure. So actually, today on my farm, we had a 12 by 36-foot building. Permanent structure arrive that was made by one of the Amish communities up here in northern New York. And that's going to be our workshop. Half of it is screened in, half of it's completely screened in and insulated. So it gives more options for like extending the workshops in the future. So it took several years of doing things the hard way to come to that conclusion that that needed to happen on the farm. And that's why I think it's really important to like reassess your business at different times of the years. Make mental notes or even write down notes of like what worked and what didn't work. Why should you be reassessing your business? So you always want to look at the successes and challenges when it comes to reassessing your business, like your production, the events, and most important, like that customer service experience when it comes down to it on your operation. I did want to put a quote here is insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Albert Einstein used that a bunch. Whoever came up with that, technically unknown, but I think that's important because I technically was driving myself insane for several years, continuing to do the pop-up tents and just the putting the tent, the 20 by 40 tent, and then starting to do umbrellas and picnic tables. So it's really important to reassess your business. Um, so I think when you start to reassessing your business, you're looking at you're really looking at those challenges, but really you're highlighting those successes in your brain. So like when something goes really well, like maybe I should add a lot more workshops, or maybe I should plant so many more rows of cut flowers. It's not always good to fast forward and just zoom right forward as quickly as possible. I like to tell my different farmers I work with is stop, slow down, and like reassess what you're doing. Make sure that you have developed a plan. So like having your short term, midterm, and long term, which is all part of a business plan, and readjusting like that actual business plan when it comes down to it. I know my first year of offering you pick lavender, it went really well. And I thought basically the whole field like was cut down through U-Pick. So we did a huge planting, but we were very careful not to overplant when it came down to it. I definitely feel like I do have more lavender in the ground than I really need at this point, but it's important that I can still continue to grow. I just don't add any more to my production. Um, so you saw in the beginning, I created a schedule for the season. Um, that is really important to have a schedule of different activities that need to happen on in your business. And that's like on the business side, I did add the productions parts into it because those are things that over the years there have been struggles. So I like to just highlight where I need to rethink. And that's where I'm going to go through the next couple of slides and talk about reassessing these different parts of my business. So creating a schedule, like your opening, if you're having like U-Pick, maybe if you're doing farmers markets, special events on the farm. It also helps you determine like the number like employees, when to run workshops, or like different additional support that you might need. Maybe it is hiring like an independent contractor in to do your workshops, or asking your family to help you on a specific weekend that you're having an event. Um, so when I look at every year when I need to order seeds or plugs, I look at the timing, so the ordering timing. So I know this is the time of the year that the seed catalogs are out available, and when the other farms are ordering their seeds. So I know if I want to be able to get the seeds that I want. Like I know in the past I've wanted to order like eucalyptus, and the varieties that I wanted to order are just sold out. Same thing with lavender. So thinking about when everything's going to be coming out. Will the suppliers sell out of that seeds or plugs? It happens, as I just mentioned. So that's really important to know that about the different suppliers and other backup suppliers that you might be able to use. The quantity that you need. So how did how many did you order last year? So it's important to keep records of how much you actually ordered. How much did you really need last year? Like, did you have excess? Did you not have enough? And how many seeds or plugs you'll need for the next season? So are you planning to did you need more? Did you want to just continue to grow the same amount the next season? Or do you want to expand on your operation? So that's really important to know. So ordering supplies, same thing as ordering seeds and plugs is the timing of orders. When will you need the supplies? I also want to add into like ordering supplies, my timing on my supplies and my seeds. I also look at how much my sales are for the season and make a determine, do I order before the end of the year on supplies or at the beginning of the year based on how much I need to kind of like write off for taxes. So it's important to look at that, look at your numbers when it comes down to it. When will you need the supplies? So an example would be like if I need row cover for my lavender, um, I'm going to order that like in June. When it comes down to it, I'm not going to order in January and have it delivered and try to like lug it through the snow and try to find a place to store it. I'm going to order it when I'm going to need it in the fall to cover like closer to the fall, or when I know there's the supplier has that product available for me. Um, then like if I'm going to order pots, like how many did I order last year? How many did I actually need? They don't go bad, so I just keep like an excess of them. And then what will I need for next season when it comes down to it? So ordering marketing supplies. So same thing, what did I order for marketing supplies last year? And if it's like rack cards, postcards, business cards, flyers, how much did I spend on that marketing supplies? Like, was it worth it? Um, and I'm going to use my example of my first couple years when I started um, my operation. I ordered some rack cards because I know rack cards are really nice. You see them on the like the throughway. There's places to put those. Um, it worked for me for the first couple of years, but that's not what I moved to. I moved to a more of a postcards style. The one thing that what I saw was an issue with my marketing material was I had dates on everything. I had the opening dates for the season, I had the closing dates, then like any events I was doing it. So by like the end of the season, I would like have a stack of postcards that just went right in the trash. So what I did was for like this past year is I moved towards postcards and marketing material that have they don't have any dates on it, but they really push people to go to the website. And I make sure that my website is really up to date when it comes down to it. I also look at like for flyers, like we have our event fairies in the lavender. I order 50 flyers every single year. That's what's worked. I have friends in the community that bring it to the hospital and different outlets throughout the community. So I know that 50 is kind of what I need. I really don't need any more. And like I mentioned, how much did I spend on marketing materials? Can I like tighten my little budget a little bit more when it comes down to it, especially if I don't have to have things printed off every single year and I'm not wasting materials. What marketing materials worked well, as I mentioned, what marketing materials did not work well. And like, as I mentioned, anything with the dates on it just did not work for my operation. That was a lot of wasted product. Budget for the season. What was my budget for last year is how I look at my farm operation. I look at how much supplies, marketing materials, if it's any type of structures that I had to buy. I look at my overall. And I always try to find ways to kind of like, is there a way that I can kind of cut back and then put funds in a different aspect, like maybe spend more money on marketing, maybe because I didn't need to buy like as many lavender plants when it comes down to it. So it's important to really look at what you really need, what you don't need, and not try to continuously repeat the same system from season to season. I'm adding in some of my production stuff and I'll tell you why. So pruning for lavender. I look at the previous season's pruning. I look at when I pruned in the spring or the fall. And then I look at the bloom of how well the bloom was from season to season, and will I make those adjustments for the next year. So in the past, like I usually prune my lavender in mid-April. This year I didn't. I was at a work conference, so I wasn't able to get to that. So things got pushed off a little bit longer. So what I did was I did a little bit of pruning, kind of left things how it was in the field because I didn't want to be knocking off growth at the beginning of the season. And then for this year, I ended up doing more of a fall pruning and having everything pruned up by late September. So like trying to adjust based on like what I know when I know my U-pick will develop for the next season. When I cover the lavender, and I'm bringing this up because lavender doesn't usually grow in, in New York State as well as it does in like Provence or other parts of the world where it's dry and warmer. I have to know when to cover my lavender. I have covered my lavender anywhere from like the end of October to almost the beginning of December, and had to like hammer pins in the ground to cool down the lavender. So I know basically like kind of the first weekend in November has worked in the past. The one thing that we've always had a problem with is keeping the row cover down. So we've tried different ways over the years to keep it down, anywhere from using buckets to rocks to poles. So like I keep track of like what I should do for the next season of reassessing that. So U-pick season. So I've actually been very lucky for my U-pick season is I've been able to every single year, it's always been the last Saturday and Sunday of June, and it's 4 weekends into like basically the third weekend in July is when our U-pick. So that I've kept track of that every year. It's gone really well. And so I don't have decided to adjust those U-pick dates. And then I look at how do you make the customer service better when it comes down to it. So like I've found ways of like using flags in the lavender operation to keep the customers in the row versus putting up like poles and plastic tape and stuff. I also have like moved the tent around in the field to like be more helpful to the customers when it comes down to them walking out of their car to go pick up their scissors to go right into the field. Then I noticed the sales were down in the lavender farm shop. So then I removed the tent back right up to the farm shop, and then sales went up. So it's really important to think about making those adjustments when it comes down to it. And I will tell you, adjusting where the tent location was actually a mid UPIC season change that I had to do in order to increase my sales for the season, so I didn't lose out. Preparation for the seasons. How did preparation go for the past season? So I think I start preparing like everything on the farm in April to June. So that's like taking the row cover off, pruning the row cover back. Grass starts to grow, so mowing needs to happen, then weed whacking, and then weeding in lavender, and then making sure everything's mulched around the farm shop. And so it's a continuous process. So I make sure that I have all my like ducks in a row and see what I could have improved. Um, what do I need to make the season successful? So I always think about like equipment. Example is like I have lavender in my high tunnel. Using the big gas powered hedgers are great, but I don't need that in the high tunnel. So I actually went out and bought like handheld battery opted little hedgers. Um, and that made everything easier to prune. And then I ended up learning those are great for harvesting lavender. So I was able to use them for two different things on the farm operation. So knowing what works well and what doesn't for equipment is important. Replanting. So looking at, I always think about when I'm going to replant my lavender. Industry standard tends to be that you replant at the end of your harvest, even if the plants aren't looking the best. But I know like I will when plants are really bad, and I don't want to hear customers saying, oh, like you had a hard season. I will replant like in May. I also need to determine I replant in May, and then I will replant like a late planting in like end of August, September. But with replanting, I need to know like what quantity I need for the different varieties that I'm going to be planting. So that takes a lot of planning, because with replanting, I need to if I'm going to propagate, I have to propagate in the fall before I cover all the lavender up. Um, I need to keep everything alive, and then I know if I'm going to grow anything from seed, I usually start kind of like right around Christmas time and keep these plants going all winter long in order to have plants available. So it's a long process. Um, so I opening for the season. So I would like to really reiterate this part is the opening season and even like the closing for the season. I should have added. So the timing, what I've learned over the years, at least having a lavender farm and being open for the public within the farm shop, for the UPIC, for the different events, is um, as I think all know as farmers, is the general public doesn't understand or realize a lot of the time that what we're growing isn't available 365 days a year. So what I've done with my farm operation is I looked at sales for a number of years, and I've shortened my season down based on when things are going to be in bloom. So like when my lavender is going to be starting to be in bloom, um, through the lavender bloom part to the end, and then if I'm going to have like you pick sunflowers, and so that's what all I'm going to be opened up, because before I was opening up from May 1st until October was it 31st, and then that didn't work too well. Like sales weren't really good in October, and we did sell some pumpkins, but it wasn't like a strong sales. So I shortened it up to September 30th. And then I started to get like reviews on Google, even though on Facebook, on Google, on our webpage, everything says like when lavender's in bloom, people would show up and put, I had somebody say last year that you're not open. Well, we were open, the farm shop is open, things weren't in bloom. So trying to be considerate of our customers' time, and just realizing like a lot of our customers don't understand about seasonality. So making farm shop products. So I make my farm shop products usually starting in December. So December until the season starts, but it's usually those first couple months of the year. I want to just reiterate about ordering supplies. So I look at how much I've purchased for the season, and how much for last season, look at how much product that I had left over, and then just even like containers or the different things to make the product. And then I end up determining um, if I need to order any supplies to make the product, if it's going to be before the end of December or if it's going to be after the first of the year. Um, but I do look at when I make farm shop product is what product sold from last season, how much sold for each product, for each products. Um, do I need to increase or decrease my prices? What can I add to my operation? So like usually customers will say like, oh, I want a lavender mist. If it might be something I just didn't do this season, or lavender soap. So I try to be considerate of what the customers are looking for and then potentially add it if I see that it's going to be something that's going to bring in some revenue. And then what type of packaging should I use for the products? I will say like there's some things I've learned from customers like over the years is like will do like a body butter in every single container size, like a 0.5 ounce, 2 ounce container, 0.15 milliliter, and then I'll see like what actually does sell based on the price point, and then determine if I should keep it or send it away for retirement for the farm operation. Sometimes when I do discontinue a product, there will be like one or two customers that are sad that it's gone, but it all works out in the end. So I think this is my final slide is your market for U-Pick and events. So when should I start marketing? So for my farm operation, I start like if you go on my Facebook page, like there's been nothing since we closed. I will start like at the first of the year, starting to kind of like let out like when the U-Pick dates and our fairies in lavender, and giving people like workshops will open on June 1st for registration. But then when it comes down to like when I get into this season, I will like put a Facebook post every single day on on social media. Um And then I also look at like where did I market for last year? If it's just social media, if it's in magazines. I've done a different magazines. I've done a like an international national magazine. I've done like the local ones. And I basically ask a lot of my customers, like, where'd you hear about us? And I've heard some feedback of being in that national magazine, but it's a lot of word of mouth is what I've learned from my customer base. I look at how much did I spend on marketing? Did I spend $5,000 a year? Did I spend like $1,000? And then like I mentioned, was it successful? And I don't want to waste money when it comes down to it, because I could be putting money into like a building, or maybe just like adding some fun thing on the farm for kids. So like I really want to be cautious of where I'm spending my money. But I want to also push, like, it's always important to create a marketing plan for like the new season of how you're going to market, where you're going to be marketing in that budget. So this is my contact information. Lindsay Pasha, LEP 67 at cornell.edu. And I'm going to open this up to questions.
Thank you, Lindsay, for all of your